we're starting with AEW, as the third Blood and Guts match took place on last night's Dynamite, and the bout certainly lived up to its graphic name. The Blackpool Combat Club had the early advantage, as after Claudio Castagnoli and Kenny Omega started for their teams, it was Pac who joined the fray. Hangman Page was the next to enter, followed by a screwdriver-wielding Jon Moxley, who turned up the gore in the match with a fork and a bucket of broken glass shards. Wheeler Yuta's arrival in the match saw the BCC member bring a steel chair into the ruckus, which backfired when Matt Jackson planted him into it with a DDT. It was again Moxley who turned up the violence, pulling out a bed of nails which he body-slammed Kenny Omega into, but the debuting Kota Ibushi exacted revenge by drop-kicking Mox into the nails. The finish of the match saw Castagnoli accidentally strike Pac with an uppercut, only to be taken out by Page's buckshot lariat, and Wheeler Yuta being choked out with a chain ended the match by knockout. This week's Dynamite was certainly a war, one that the Elite and Kota Ibushi emerged the victors, but what did you think to this year's Blood and Guts? Let us know in the comments. The two sides clearly gave it their all in the hellacious double cage structure, but after Dynamite went off the air, there was a sign of respect between the two teams. After Dynamite stopped airing, the Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite shared a handshake in the ring, signifying the end of their epic rivalry. Blood and Guts once again earned AEW a ton of attention, and even John Cena was hyping the show on Twitter, though we should add that this was John Cena Sr., the father of the former WWE World Champion. As to where the two teams go from here, who's to say, but it seems like the feud between two of AEW's most dominant factions came to a definitive end in Blood and Guts. Since AEW Collision launched last month, CM Punk has been the unquestionable top star of the show, often opening up Collision and competing in the main event. Last week's show was a stacked affair with the two Owen Hart Tournament finals and a lengthy AEW World Tag Team title match, but there was plenty happening behind the scenes as well. Fightful Select has learned that Punk recently led a backstage meeting at Collision in which he discussed the stylistic differences between this show against both Dynamite and Rampage. Talent who mostly perform on Dynamite were not part of the meeting, which was about how Collision can have its own separate identity and win over critics of the new show. Attendees brainstormed ways to differentiate Collision from Dynamite, with finishes of matches and other ideas being discussed in the meeting. The meeting also included looking at AEW's other projects, including the recently launched Fight Forever game, as well as the safety guidelines that were recently implemented. Punk is the appointed locker room leader of Collision, a role he's taking very seriously, as the best in the world seeks to make Collision just as significant, if not more, than AEW's flagship Dynamite show. More from Dynamite, which also saw Hook get his hands on Jungle Boy, something he's been wanting to do since Forbidden Door, but this wasn't how Hook wanted the night to go. The Blood and Guts special opened with Hook defending his FTW title against his former ally, and in the end, it was Jack Perry who got the win and the championship. This win wasn't exactly clean, as Jungle Boy struck Hook with the title before getting the pinfall, but at the end of the day, it's Jack Perry who now holds the FTW championship. Jungle Boy's character has undergone a massive change, as with his face run gone, so is his Tarzan Boy theme song, now replaced with Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Not only did Hook lose the title, but his undefeated streak has also come to an end at the hands of Jungle Boy, and what did you make to this title change, and the latest chapter of this feud? More from Blood and Guts now, as this was the third year that we've seen the double cage match, and once again, there was no women's match inside the structure. As we've seen time and again from the women of AEW, bleeding isn't a cause for concern for the roster, so why didn't a women's Blood and Guts match take place? Speaking on a media call, Tony Khan said that a series of injuries led to AEW not going ahead with the plan, which Khan said would make for an interesting idea. Khan acknowledged the fact that Jamie Hayter is injured and Saraya is also out of action, and it'd be difficult to pull off the Outcasts versus Hayter, Britt Baker, and others without these names. The AEW president went on to say that the women's division is pretty beat up already, and between this and the missing talent, it just wasn't a feasible idea for them this year. Perhaps next year will be the year we see a women's Blood and Guts match, something Britt Baker has made clear she wants. And would you be interested in this match? Let us know in the comments. For close to 3 years, the Bloodline storyline has dominated WWE programming, with Roman Reigns, the Usos, Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman being fixtures of TV. With Sami Zayn leaving the group in January though, and the Usos departing last month, it seems the Bloodline's days are up, but WWE has a replacement in mind. WRKD Wrestling reports that WWE are paying attention to the popularity of the Judgment Day, which they see as a successor to the Bloodline in fan interest and longevity. After a rocky start in early 2022, the group has firmly found its footing on Raw, with the quartet often being featured in the main event scene. The report added that the Judgment Day segments are often the highest rated quarter hour, and fans can expect plenty more of the Judgment Day for many years to come. Cody Rhodes has had his issues with both the Bloodline and the Judgment Day this year, as the factions are the top heel groups on SmackDown and Raw, and Rhodes is a top face. It seems nothing can derail Rhodes' rise to the top of WWE, not even his loss at WrestleMania 39, and fans have Booker T to thank for some of Cody's success. That's at least according to Booker himself, who on the Muscle Man Malcolm podcast explained his role in the rise of the American Nightmare. He said, "I feel like I got a huge part in Cody Rhodes' success. I chose to put Cody Rhodes over in 2011. I wanted to work with Cody. I just saw a world championship caliber athlete in Cody. I said, man, let me help him out a little bit, and I think working with Cody definitely gave him that sense of, man, I could do this. And then him going out on his own, he proved that he could do it." Rhodes would put his Intercontinental title on the line against Booker at TLC 2011 and would retain against the future two-time Hall of Famer in a win that helped establish Rhodes as one of SmackDown's best heels at the time. Now a face, Rhodes has the likes of Brock Lesnar to contend with at SummerSlam, and Booker T will no doubt be watching Cody with great interest following their 2011 feud. More from AEW now, as the Blackpool Combat Club waged war inside of Blood and Guts, but Bryan Danielson was unable to join his comrades due to an injury. As we reported yesterday, Danielson's fractured forearm injury is worse than initially thought, and now the American Dragon has shared an update on his condition. On Twitter, Danielson revealed that he had surgery on his arm 2 weeks ago, and to repair his arm required a steel rod being inserted, as well as 9 screws. Danielson's injury will almost certainly rule him out of AEW All In, which will come as a huge blow to fans in the UK, as well as Danielson, who no doubt wants to compete at AEW's biggest show. As for how long exactly Danielson will be off, the initial diagnosis was 6 to 8 weeks, but with this surgery, it could be months before he is even considered for a return to the ring. The American Dragon has unfortunately dealt with many injuries in his career, and this isn't the first in AEW alone, and we're sending Danielson all the best on his road to recovery. Since his exit from WWE, Matt Cardona has done incredibly well for himself, and despite a brief stint in AEW, it's on the Indies where the former NWA World Champion has found his stride. Speaking with Steve Fall this week, Cardona was asked about his future and said he'd have a conversation with both WWE and AEW, and that the talks would be about cash and creative. These two C's will determine Cardona's future, and we'll just have to wait and see what the future holds for the man formerly known as Zack Ryder. As part of AEW, Britt Baker has faced some of the top women that the company has to offer, from the likes of Hikaru Shida to facing Saraya in the British Star's first match in close to 5 years. Baker is clearly one of the top women in AEW today, but now the former Women's World Champion has her sights set on a megastar outside of the promotion. On the recent Not Just Football podcast with Cam Hayward, Baker spoke about Mercedes Moné and threw out the challenge for the boss for when she is healed. Baker added that while Moné competes for New Japan, she is not exclusive to the promotion and is pleased to see all the success the former Sasha Banks has had in her time since leaving WWE. Many are hopeful that Moné will compete in AEW one day, and it's rumored for a time that she'd be a part of Forbidden Door, but those plans were nixed due to her injury. Britt Baker versus Mercedes Moné would be a massive match featuring two of the top women in wrestling today, and who would you be rooting for? Sound off in the comments. When you sign with WWE, you traditionally get given a new ring name by the company, something that WWE can trademark for merch and stop you from using if your tenure with them ends. WWE recently trademarked a bunch of new names, including Trey Bearhill, Kaya Saint, Tyreek Igwe, and Tyson DuPont, and some prospects have already received their new names. During the most recent taping for NXT Level Up, Frankie Sterling was in action and used the name Izzy Dame when facing off against Danny Palmer. The contest marked Izzy Dame's first on-camera appearance since signing with WWE last year, and the athletic star with a background in volleyball has been using her real name at NXT house shows. Dame isn't alone in having a new name, as on Twitter, Monika Kilsara confirmed her new name as Carmen Petrovic, sharing a photo of herself with a katana. Petrovic didn't make her TV debut at the NXT Level Up tapings, but her name change implies that her arrival is coming, as the two newly dubbed prospects hope to become top names in the years to come. And we're ending with Scripps, who debuted in WWE as Reginald, the French sommelier of Carmella, but after parting ways with her, he became the charismatic Reggie of the 24/7 title division. Upon joining NXT, Reggie became Scripps, the masked, enigmatic high flyer, but now the man behind the mask has undergone another major character change. On this week's NXT, Scripps betrayed Axiom, betraying his tag team partner during their match against the debuting team of Bronco Nima and Lucian Price, and will be working as a heel from here on. On Twitter, Scripps confirmed another change in a tweet that referenced his previous personas in WWE, before adding that he's going back to my roots. We'll have to see what's next for Scripps as he starts this new heel run with NXT, but whatever he has in store, it's unlikely to be like anything we've seen before from the former 24/7 champion. Guys, please come back for more interesting news at 3 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for watching.